Okay, call the meeting to order at 7:01 by the wall clock in Roseville Township Standard Time, which may not be what's on your watch or your iPhone. Okie doke. Any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I have an addition. The liaison report.
Oh,
Not a problem. Paul, I don't take it personally.
the second ACO on the agenda is the liaison report. It was an errata.
I thought she was going to do 2 reports tonight, so no problem.
We were just trying to see if you even read these things, Michael. Anybody else?
Nope, I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Like a motion to approve the minutes of the July 20 regular meeting?
Motion.
Support.
Any comments or questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve the minutes of the July 20 closed session?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, action items. The first one's the monthly report, and we have the honor of having Sergeant Carnac.
Hello. I was asked by the administration to fill in for them while they're on leave.
You are the acting chief, acting deputy chief, and acting lieutenant.
All in one shot. All right. No. So I've been watching a couple of the past commission meetings and I'm going to follow what they've done in the past. First, I was going to talk about calls, the monthly calls. So for the month of July, the department fielded 900 calls total. And on the next page, it's broken down to 103 on midnights, 370 on day shift, and 433 on afternoons. If you guys have any questions, just interrupt. So for the traffic report, I'm going to compare some of this to last year's data. So for July of 21 versus July of 20, crashes went down 2 from last month. Private property accidents went up 2 from last month, and we had 0 deer car accidents for the month of July. Go to the officer initiation section. If I'm going too fast, you told me to slow down.
Fine.
So I'm going to kind of tie into some overtime issues we've been having with this whole self-initiated activity report. If you look at it, you'll see in the roads versus dispatch days for the days of service to the officers, the left column is going to be the road days that they worked versus the right columns are going to be that the road officers worked in dispatch. We're short a dispatcher right now. I believe we may be short 2 dispatchers right now just because of leave. But you can see that a lot of the officers have been working different shifts, either working the road or working dispatch to fill in for the shortages we have in manpower right now, which is creating a lot of overtime. But you can see like the Detective Darzniak came in for 1.5 dispatch days. He actually came in at 3 in the morning and worked 3 splits. So he came in at 3 in the morning and then worked till 7 a.m. and then went into work in the Detective Bureau and then finished the rest of his day. And same thing with Detective Vasquez. All the road guys have been coming in and trying to cover all the shifts they can to cover it, but we have definitely maintained our minimum manpower standard. I don't know if that's a question for you guys, but
You guys are commended for being able to make that happen. We appreciate it.
well, July and typically June, July, August are a lot of vacation times. I know I just came back from vacation right now. So notable, we have 6 OWIs for the month. I don't know how that compared to last year because last year was also another COVID year.
I see you got 3, and we got 6 total. Since you got the 3, was there any special thing going on that you think caused this? Were there more parties?
We're not looking for them. They just come
Yeah, I
across.
know.
If you make more stops, you're going to come across more stuff.
Okay.
That's how it looks. If you look at a lot of the department stops, the verbal warnings greatly outweigh the amount of citations and arrests that were made.
Mm-hmm.
So it just, you make a stop, you're going to find something that's in the car. Next, we'll go to the Detective Bureau report. For the month of July, they had 41 complaints, cleared by road officers and cleared by the DB. There's a couple that were of notable interest. 213725 is an operating while intoxicated third. There's a female driver, 55 years old, with an expired license. She was pulled over on midnight shift, and she was a .19, which is almost triple the legal limit, but that was her sixth operating while intoxicated offense. We had an incident on private property, one of our establishments, where officers were responding to a private property accident involving a pedestrian who was walking across a parking lot that was struck by a vehicle. In the course of the investigation, a 49-year-old man was arrested for obstructing and resisting officers. He was interfering with their investigation at that scene of the accident. Then we had another incident where a gentleman was stopped. 42-year-old male was driving suspended, and he has 7 prior suspensions. He had 3 warrants. So that's how you come across some of these incidents. You make a stop, and that's how you find these things. Go back to the traffic incident. So,
Can I ask another quick question? And I guess
Go ahead.
I'd even
yeah.
lean on our lawyerly commission member next to me here. How do guys get 6th offenses and 7th prior convictions and not have, do somehow things fall off the record?
They don't have in some cases they don't even have a license, but they still have access to a car, whether it's a spouse, a friend, a rent, whatever not a rental, but whatever they can get. They don't have a valid license and they're driving. Just like that one I talked about with the person that had 7 prior suspensions. They know they're suspended. They know it. They just keep driving.
Is it just a finable offense, or can they go to jail for it?
They can go to jail. They can go to jail. It all depends on what the circumstances are, and with all the drunk drivings we've gotten over the years, the court system is tied up right now because of COVID. They weren't processing any court cases for quite a while, so I can't make that as an excuse. But I know that was happening, which slowed down the system. Maybe
But okay. All right. Thanks.
And then the juvenile report, there's no activity for the juvenile report. Nothing to report on that. I was going to go ACO, but I'll wait to the end on that one. Officer Cordes is here. For the overtime, we talked about this before. It's nothing exciting, but you can see that we made a larger jump last month in overtime, which now we're only at 31% used for the year. So I can't say if that's good or bad, but I don't think that's a lot for what we're doing for the year. But we have a lot of people that have been off sick. We have one person off on FMLA. We had a lot of vacation days in July. That just happens. Some eight personal days, a couple sick days, and then one of the officers is off on workman's comp. That creates a lot of overtime. And this month we've been shorthanded. I know for the month of August it's going to be pretty much the same story, if not worse, for the overtime. So all the officers are coming in, no matter what shift they are. Dispatchers also working doubles and 12s, and we all have been doing it. And I know the midnight guys are coming in on their days off and working overtime because it's a hard shift to work a double on. So.
Hey, Doug.
Yep.
So we're trying to hire another officer, and you may not have the answer, so that's okay if you don't.
I was going next on that one.
You are? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Then
Sorry.
why don't you move on to it?
Sorry. For applicants for the position of police officer, that has been extended. Applications are going to be accepted till September 13th. That's been extended till September 13th. Currently, we have 4 applicants. That was told this morning. 4 applicants, and we have more that have been in contact with Ruth, but that's not official applications yet.
Right. I've been getting some emails on it lately, and that's it.
Initially, for the initial advertisement, we got 4, and I think we looked at those and only one really qualified. Was that what
I don't know the breakdown. I knew at one point there was one last time I spoke to,
It was two that we had that were valid, and one wasn't, ended up having to be taken off the list.
that was a conversation I had with interim Chief Harden like a week ago, or maybe more. But as of today, I was told 4. So
So
that's for
that's
the
a good
position.
movement. We got 4.
No, it's great because it's a difficult environment. I mean, we're starting to feel what the rest of the country's starting to feel, it sounds like a little bit.
A lot of departments are hiring and they're not getting applicants.
Right.
We're not alone on that. But for the position of clerk dispatcher, we have 0 applicants. And that position is going to close this Friday, August 20th. So that's when that position is going to close for applications. So we have none. We have no applicants for clerk or dispatcher. So if you want to apply, we're hiring for that position.
How
And
do
it-
we advertise for that? That's probably more of a Ruth question than News Herald.
Dispatcher, police goes in the Uncles and News Herald. We tried to contact the News Free Press. I couldn't even get a reply. I tried.
How about our website?
It's on the website.
It is on the website.
And also on overtime, just so you know, a lot of that will be monies back from Operation Stone Garden too. So it makes the overtime really.
Okay.
I know from a lot of my friends that have been applying for jobs, they do check the MCO's website. That is a frequently checked place for applicants to look for jobs they're opening. So I know that's looked at. So, and then for the position for our reserve officers, every month we have no applicants that are applying for reserve police officers. We still have none that have applied in the last couple of months.
Just back to that for a second. So I know it's maybe doesn't seem like the right place on the MCOs for the clerk dispatcher, but would we put it there as well in case there are people that recognize that, hey, I've got a friend that's looking for this?
I don't know if we can for dispatcher. I'll have to ask.
It's a tough time to have people apply for police officer jobs. It's all I can really say about that. Any more questions about applicants that I can answer?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
All right. And the last part I was going to go over is the monthly training report for July. We had the 5 or 4 standard monthly trainings that Lieutenant Pellin went to hostage negotiation training. Officer Brozak went to dive training. Officer Benson did his monthly SWAT training. And Officer Carrico did his K-9 maintenance training. And besides that, we had the reserves. I'm going to do a reserve report later, but I'll speak about this now. The reserves all attended an online Narcan training, so they completed that. So they have their certificates, and we have the Narcan kits. These are each going to get 2, just like the road guys. So when they come out and do their reserve duties, they'll have Narcan. This summer, it seemed like we've had a couple of Narcan incidents, so it's good to have more people with it. Officer Secretarius, killed that one. He went to active shooter training in Indianapolis, so now he's an instructor. That's a class that I took before in Officer Carrico, so we have 3 people, 1 on each shift that's now an instructor for active shooter training. I know they talked about that last meeting. Dispatcher Linden went to emergency medical dispatch on July 9th. And then Lieutenant Pellin was use of force continuum on July 2nd training. Any questions on the training report? Do you want to do your ACO report? Is that, is she okay to come do the ACO
Yep.
report? That's what they sent me.
Thanks, Doug, for putting this all together on very short notice. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Good job.
Hi, everybody. Julie Cordes, Redfield Animal Control. You have a copy of my monthly report, and there's some stats on there I just want to highlight. The 40 complaint calls that I did in July, that's just through dispatch. I have a phone at the shelter. People email me. God bless GI Now. Messenger, Facebook, yeah. So a lot of that is comes from different places, but the 40 is right through dispatch. One of my the shelter was just painted. We had painters in just yesterday. They just finished up. They did 2 large rooms. and that's something we've been trying to do for a couple of years. So it's looking beautiful. We'll get to a place where we can maybe have an open house and invite people back in. We do have open hours 2 days a week, and that's going well. And then by appointment, if anybody wants to do by appointment, just for safer COVID practice. We currently have 5 cats and 1 dog in the shelter. 2 of those cats were probably dumped, we'll never know, but on the north end, right by the toll bridge, I picked up 1 week apart 2 Persian Munchkin cats. That's a fancy cat, and they're only 3 years old. They were healthy, other than their fur was really matted, so we had some work to do there. They weren't infested with parasites. They were both microchipped. Unfortunately, the microchips were never activated. I don't know if people know that they need to just make 1 phone call, and sometimes it's a one-shot deal where you pay $100 and you're registered forever. So if you lose an animal, we have a universal microchip reader right at the shelter. That's the first thing I do when I get a stray, even a surrender. I microchip read it, and if there's a hit, I call that person, and we've reunited animals before. One all the way out in White Lake. That's a story for another day, but that was a strange situation. So anyway, the 2 Persians are doing well. The porch that they landed on, the people that found them decided to adopt them both. So that was a really happy story. One of my notable wildlife calls. We had a resident, I got an anonymous complaint that a resident was keeping a raccoon in his house. When I met the gentleman, he was very cooperative. He had been keeping the raccoon for 7 years. It was grossly overweight. It was infested with fleas, which were also in the house, I'm sure. And we were able to make arrangements to get it to a sanctuary. It can't be released after being owned by a human that long. And rather than euthanize it, which some people would say, why didn't you euthanize it? Well, there's sanctuaries that will take it, and they were happy to, and they just gave me an update, and it had lost 20 pounds. That's a typical weight for a raccoon is about 24 pounds, and it had lost 20 pounds. So doing well, and the guy was glad to hear that it was a happy ending for this animal that he had bonded with. Outside of that, did anybody have any questions for me? Well, I guess I should note that our donations for the month were $2,700. That's pretty incredible. A large bulk of that, as you know, is the bottles and cans. We have 2 new volunteers. One of them is helping me with that. The other is helping in the dog kennel area. The 1 dog we have is a 3-year-old pit mix. He's totally current on vaccinations, neutered, and ready for adoption. That is all I have.
Any significance to the animal bite report?
That was not the worst bite, but it definitely was noted. I'm not sure there was even a citation. It was a low-level bite, and we just tracked it and shared that information with Wayne County, and they track it for rabies, of course.
Anyone else have any questions of Julie? No. Kathy?
Yes, Julie.
Rather than make you wait or make her wait,
For a few hours. How's the pussycat doing? We had a pussycat find our house with kittens, and Julie and first I called Tails and they said to call Julie, so I did, and Julie came running. And how's she doing?
It's a petite female that we think has 5 kittens. We're still trying to catch the kittens, but we were able to trap the female cat immediately. She's at the shelter with some superficial wounds, probably from trying to get out of the trap. And tomorrow we will get to work on just basic stats, weighing her, making sure she's processing. There will be a point where there's a 4-day legal hold for an owner to find their lost pet. And once that hold passes, then we start doing some major medical things. We're hoping that we can get the kittens in and get them back with mom Because they look to be about 6 weeks, did you think?
I think so, that's what Roberta told me. I went walking in the woods tonight before I came, just to see if they maybe were, 'cause a couple times I saw her coming in from the woods.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing, but, I just keep checking the tracks. I must have checked it 4 times since
Good.
I saw you at noon.
Well, we'll keep trying. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you again, Julie.
You bet.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Did we cover the reserves with your?
No.
Okay.
Captain Wes Price was unable to make it today, so I will cover the reserve report. I have it on my phone. They didn't do as many hours as they had in the month of June, but for July we had 8 cadet hours and 91 reserve hours. They covered 5 events. Woodhaven requested our assistance to help them with their fireworks on the 2nd. Then on the 21st, they had we started active shooter training with the reserves too. If they're going to be out here riding around and we have a school incident, having them sit down the street and call, they're going to be taught the same level that we have. They're not police officers, but they're going to be taught to do the same because every second counts in that active shooter training I went to. They, like I noted before, the 2 hours of online Narcan. They had an airport car show on the 24th, and then they had, I don't know if you guys saw the one weekend, they had a ton of motorcycles on a big caravan going around the island. Inkster Police had a fallen officers fundraiser. Since some of those Inkster reserves were former Grosio reserves, so we had a little reunion down here, and we assisted them with that too. So, like I said before, we have no applicants. We're going to do, I think we're going to be able to do a presentation next month with the commission about the reserve program. We have a little movie that's been finalized, and we're not going to get an Academy Award for it, but we're going to try to show it next week. So, any questions on the reserve report?
Anyone have any questions? All right, can I have a motion to accept the monthly report from,
Motion?
Support.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you for stepping up. Liaison report.
Okay. It'll be short. I guess I'd just like to start off by saying that at the last board meeting, we recognized the good work of Animal Control Officer Cordes for your efforts on securing the donation from Mrs. Kraska of the property. That should be great. We know that Tony Gray, Ordinance Enforcement Officer, played a key role in that as well, that he was the one that initially came in contact with her and convinced her that donating to a 501c3 here or whatever was a lot better than one in New Jersey. And so thank you to Tony Gray as well. And I know Brent made sure that you went down there and made a trip to seal that deal, and I thought that was great. And I know Dale did all the grunt work and putting all the paperwork together, so a great team effort. So thank you for that. At the last board meeting, we had a lot of discussion about hiring a bridge engineer, or having a discussion about hiring a bridge engineer. And we spent 20 minutes talking about having the discussion. We never had it. We also had a discussion about the police commission, providing a 10-minute presentation on our process, and that didn't go over very well either. So, but we will, keep pushing these ideas, initiatives, because we feel that they're valuable for the community. So that is, for the most part, the update for me. I do sit on the monthly bridge meeting with Wayne County, and I think things are going pretty well as of right now. They should be finishing up, if they haven't already, on pier number 9. That's the one that the swing, the bridge swings on, which is the main one, and probably the most important one. And that they'll be working on 6 and 8 after that, which is good because when the bridge is open for traffic, that's the 2 piers that the bridge rests on. And the idea is once 9 is done, then they can work on more piers at once, which is good. Things are pretty much on track, I'm told. And the night shift is there, from what I'm told, as well. And so pretty good report on that. I heard today that the West River Bridge had a little problem with a trash truck. Oh, you didn't? I think there's a few of us that did. Mr. Zalasko sent me pictures. It got stuck underneath it. Yeah. Maybe it was designed to be a little too low. I don't know. But a little tall. Yeah. So anyways, I don't know how that, I heard that we came out of it with just, superficial damage or scratches and things like that to the bridge, so it wasn't damaged, but more to come on that. So, and we also heard at the bridge meeting that we still have pedestrians, walking out on the bridge and things like that, Doug. So we got to make sure that we're diligent in making sure that we're.
Intern Chief Harden had just put out a email about resting on that to get us to continue.
I guess it's a really dangerous situation when it happens. So, but that's it for me. Thanks.
Okay, also, Township Supervisor Budney, at our meeting with him and Thomas Sorty, there were some discussions on some of our practices. He asked to have a meeting, and I think after I'll explain it to you, Mike, and I just want to be sure we understand exactly what he's looking for, because some people thought before we were going to have a meeting and it didn't happen, and so we want to understand exactly what's being asked for or looked for, so we can prepare for it and let him know when we can meet. So I'll talk to you after this, but I'd rather go through channels and go through you.
Perfectly okay with that.
Okay. We already had the eligibility list update. We are down to public comment. Start with Kathy, even though you already had a chance.
Well, I just want to again thank Julie and Hales and everybody, because I don't want to see an animal suffer. Oh, I'm sorry. Kathy Walker, 26051 Thorpe Court. I just want to thank everybody again, Tails, Julie, the animal shelter. Everybody pulled together to help the little pussycat, and hopefully we'll find the kittens. It's nice to see, I know pets aren't important to a lot of people, but it's nice to see them being saved. You don't want them to be feral, and God knows what they can happen in the woods. But it was great. Everybody's working together, and couldn't be happier. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Mr. Zalasko, you have any comments? Well, I didn't know we had a line.
Bob
Kinda
Zalasko,
going around.
Blauvelt. No, that's good. I'm teasing you, Paul. You know that. In the last board meeting, I know, and first of all, I did make a comment that you fellows were taking a lot of heat for this Open Meetings Act issue. And there was a comment made, I believe, by Trustee Bletcher, something to the effect that the commission may have not followed the Open Meetings Act, and it sort of set a tone on whether or not your decision had any validity, and I completely disagree with that. But correct me if I'm wrong, Paul. You've been
Put me
on
on the
commission.
spot there.
You've been on commission longer than anyone. When Mr. Bletcher was on the commission, did he not follow the very same protocol that you fellas did on the last interviewing process?
Well,
Simple
I don't
yes
want
or
I don't
no.
want to get into all the details, but said another way, we have always followed the same precedent that has always been followed by this commission for the last 30 years. And Carl was part of that for almost as many years as myself.
Okay.
So it's not a new precedent or
Right.
past precedent.
I just wanted to get a clarification on that. Thank you very much. Fellas are doing a great job. You have our support. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One?
My name is Kevin Flavin. I live on Park Lane in Grovesville, and I have a couple different, or a number of questions, and they also coincide with the last board meeting. First of all, I would like to say thank you to the members of the Police Commission for all the time they've spent interviewing candidates for the Grovesville Police Chief and their unanimous recommendation of Lieutenant Pelland to be the new chief. I'm also hoping that the commission can clarify some of these questions and concerns that have come up on social media and that I've heard from other islanders. Again, did the commission do anything differently this time in recommending Lieutenant Pelland for chief that they haven't done in the past? I'll ask all my questions. And again, that goes back to Trustee Bletcher saying that there was something illegal or done in some illegal way. My understanding is that in 2018, when Mr. Bletcher was on the Police Commission, the process of recommendation did not even take place. And how could they do that? How could there be no recommendation if they were following the Grovesville code and following the code process? Number two, Township Manager Ream mentioned and was mentioned at the meeting, and I'm wondering if the township manager had a problem with how the board chose Lieutenant Pelland, why did he wait 7 months to bring it to the public's attention? Why wasn't that done in February when the recommendation was made? And then lastly, trustee or the Mr. Budney said that the vote for the new police chief had to wait until the budget was voted on to choose, or we had to wait until the budget was voted on to choose the police chief. And my question is, and it's, doesn't the township have enough money to pay the police chief that we have to wait until the vote? So those are some of the questions that.
Well, let me respond to them, and then any of the other commissioners that feel like adding. In my 3-minute comment at the last board meeting, one of my main points was the practice that we followed for the recommendation of Ken Pelland is the same practice that we followed for the appointment of Chief Barron, and the same practice that we followed for the appointment of Chief Porcerelli, and which rolls into your other issue on that as far as the Chief Warnick. You're correct. They did not follow the practice spelled out in the township ordinances for under Chapter 67 for the recommendation of a new chief. I can't comment on why they did, but you're accurate.
You weren't the,
We were on the commission,
okay.
but they did what they did, and, you know, we had no veto power over that. You'd have to ask them why they did that.
That was, Mr. Bletcher was the liaison at that time.
He was a township trustee at that time. So, and he was not, he was our liaison at that time.
Liaison.
I'll have to ask him.
So, your second thing on Riem and why he waited for so long to put anything in writing, again, you'd have to ask Mr. Riem that.
Well, I think that was unfair to the board, the way that was done.
We have probably even different terminology we might use, but and your comment on Township Supervisor Budney's comment that the vote for the recommendation for new chief was held up by the budget, again, you'd have to ask him, you know, for his rationale on that.
Thank you very much.
Oh, hold on, you guys want to add anything?
No, I think you answered the questions. I mean, you know,
Anyone down here?
Thank you.
And we appreciate your,
Appreciate your support.
interest in the police commission meetings. Wait a minute. You two get to be last. Julie, do you have anything? Okay, Bob. Bill, I mean.
popular name.
This issue with the appointment of the final choice of the police chief, I think has impact in terms of what our community perceives as a basis for trust. My memories go back to that very meeting when Carl Bletcher was the liaison, and the commission was sitting there, you were there, and in summary, it was a question of where do we do? No one has communicated with us. Our responsibilities that we've known for a very long time are we are to make a recommendation. And so the vote was made, and I think it was 4-1. Carl was against the recommendation that the board had made. But I left that meeting with the thought that when the board was again to meet, as a liaison, he was going to present the opinion of the police commission. And some other type of meeting took place, and that did not occur. And since that date, there's just been a litany of other events where things didn't work out. And procedures were properly undertaken and not adhered to down the way. You only have a certain limited amount of power, I know that. And when push comes to shove, they've got a bigger foot than you know, to put down. But I'd like to make public comment where I feel that this idea of working in a consistent and trustworthy way is meaningful. And I regret that you haven't had an opportunity to directly explain the very comments that you made, Paul, about how we have done the same thing for a very long time. It's significant to me that we can look at the membership of the commission when the first choice was made, and when it came back around to another time where you had an opportunity for input, you chose Ken Pelland again, but yet the group who did it, half of them were different people. But there must have been some standards that were consistently adhered to. I don't know, listening to this, what more is available to the commission. I don't know if the commission has the power or ability to hold their own public meeting, somewhat like Mr. Budney would hold his own meetings in here for citizens to listen to remarks or for him to investigate. There was feedback back and forth, a question and answer period once a month. I don't know if you're allowed to do that. But I do feel that listening to the remarks that have been made here and what I've perceived prior to this, that we have a lot of misunderstanding about what's right in this situation, a lot of confusion, a lot of lack of coordination and cooperation as well. I'd like to see that change. You can only do so much, but I'd like to go on record as saying I'm concerned about that, and that we need to work on making that better in the future. Thank you.
Oh, hold on a second. We appreciate your forthrightness and your opinion. You gave a very accurate summary at the beginning of your comment as far as what's gone on. And you also gave an accurate portrayal about what authority and power we have as a commission, and it is guided by the language in the township ordinances. And unfortunately, our abilities stop at a certain point, and if there are enough members of the community or citizens like yourself that feel that way, you need to take it up with the people that do have the votes, which are at the
I get your
township board
point.
level.
We
So
can't say that at least when it started out, a couple of the people who were instrumental in making things what they were
we appreciate your support.
not in the saddle. Or
We
soon to be.
appreciate your support. Anyone want to comment?
Ditto. I mean, yes, thank you. We do appreciate your support. You know, having been on the commission not as long as two gentlemen sitting in this room, I just know that the whole commission process is a valuable asset to the community. And we have some outstanding folks here on this commission that really make their livelihoods based on picking leaders. You have a CEO down there, you have a vice president of business development, you got a former plant manager, and we got a very valuable lawyer here that provides a lot of good direction, so on and so forth. And if the community township continues to disrespect commissions, it's going to be difficult to get people to be on commissions. And I look at them as a very valuable asset, and and especially the folks on this commission, because like I said, they live and die based upon their ability to pick good leaders, to develop and groom people to become leaders, because they can't do it all themselves.
You've said that
And
before.
the very fact that they made it to the level in the private sector of which they made it to says one thing: they're really darn good at picking leaders. And it's pretty much all merit based, because if they fail at that, then they fail, right? And they do it not because they like this person. It's not a popularity contest. Their survival as a manager, as a CEO, as a plant manager is based upon the
Results.
people that you pick as leaders. Because if they fail, they bring you down
Yep.
with them.
That results.
So when this commission looked at Officer Pellin, it was just totally based on merit, totally based upon past performance. And as we all know, past performance is the best predictor of future performance. And like I said, there were folks on this room that didn't really know Officer Pellin or didn't know Officer Harden, and weren't on any past commissions. And I can assure you one thing, I know how I feel about it, and it was just totally based on merit, totally based on merit. And you pick the wrong person for a leadership job, you suffer, a township can suffer for 5-10 years. And so I commend these folks for doing the right thing for all the right reasons. And I'm just glad to have them on the commission. They do it because they love this island, they love this community, and they're volunteers. And I think it's important that we continue to attempt to get qualified people sitting on commissions. And the best way to do it is just pay just respect for them and their contributions to our township, because there's 3 nights I think that we stayed here till 11 p.m. working on a grievance, so we may get off easy tonight. Who knows? Be great. But anyways, thanks for your comments.
Yeah.
And
I've got one other thought here, Mike, from what you were saying that might be of some value. I've read some of the documents that empower you, if you'd let me put it that way. And of course, it leaves the opportunity for comment to be made by the board on why they would make a different choice. As a citizen, I would be hoping that when they took that issue, or decided to use that power, that they would have done considerable review and have some substantial reason for making the choice, for making and letting the commission, whatever commission, but letting the commission know why they were making a different choice. The responses that I read that came from the administration did not impress me as adequate to that mandate. The way I'm trying to say this in simple terms is, if you have a point, state the point, then state a reason that point is important, and then give an example of why that reason is important and how it works. It adds substance with the support of the examples and the reasoning. You just can't say, well, this is wrong and that's bad and this is even worse, and leave it at that. There has to be something to justify or substantiate the remarks that are made, and I personally would have wanted more substantiation. I'm suggesting, after having made those remarks, that when you have a chance on another occasion to have a confrontation, if that should occur, that kind of a question, call it Socratic if you would, but it raises the point and it gives the public something to look at and to think about, and you're able to take a point and make it stick. Thank you.
Well, to comment on that, we appreciate your comments, and there have been many citizens at these last couple of board meetings, township board meetings, that have expressed some of the same points you make, and that's the process that needs to follow. The citizens have to make their feelings known. We're kind of limited in what we can say at this point because this issue is still out there, it's still alive, and so we are somewhat limited in our response.
Thank you for listening.
Yep.
Thanks, Bill.
Did you have a comment, Greg, or were you just visiting tonight?
Okay. Greg Karmazin, 21228 East River Road. First of all, I want to follow up on some of the previous comments of the speakers tonight, citizen speakers tonight, that we really do appreciate what you do as members of the commission up there. It is all volunteer. This is a lot of work, extra stress that you take on for the benefit of the community. And I don't think it can be said enough how many people in the community appreciate what you're doing, all of you. They may not know you personally, but they know what you're doing, and they do appreciate it. And it is extremely valuable, extremely important that we have citizen oversight over the police department. It's one of the strongest powers of local government. It has to be overseen by citizens from the community in conjunction with the professional staff of the township. But the role that you play is critically important, and I hope that more citizens will come to realize how important that your role and your activities have been. Now, I do want to follow up on a couple of the points that have been raised about the police chief hiring recommendation and the process. One of the questions that Kevin Flavin had asked earlier tonight was, why would Supervisor Budney say that the budget process would stall the recommendation on moving forward with the police chief? And I think he had asked a question. I know you provided some answer to it, but I just wanted to give you a chance to maybe further clarify. My understanding is that the township citizens have passed millages, and the township board has passed their budgets fully funding the position of the chief of police. So my question is, why would there be a budget issue about that would stall the hiring of the chief of police? Number one, okay. Now I'd like to also move on to another.
Well, let's
Question.
deal
Yeah.
with one at a time,
Okay,
because
well,
I'm
fine.
tired of
Sure.
trying to run it right
Yep.
as fast as you and Kevin talk, so.
Okay.
But, again, the only answer to that is you have to ask Mr. Budney. We have no answer to that.
Okay, but just to further clarify, is my understanding that, and Mr. Zalasko's here tonight, Bob Zalasko, he was previously on the police commission. He put together a 5-year plan that I believe that the department is still operating under. And I believe that the position of the police chief was fully funded within that 5-year plan. And I'm not aware of any financial difficulty the township has had within the police department's budget, like extraordinary expense that would have taken money away from the position of police chief. And you would know that, I assume, overseeing the budget and the operations of the department. And I mean, are you aware of any budgetary reason why the police chief couldn't have been hired in February when the recommendation was made?
From our perspective, that is probably an accurate statement, but where the new board and township supervisor and treasurer were coming from and are coming from still hasn't been shared with us, and you'd have to ask them for their rationale.
But I mean, just to be clear, though, but your knowledge,
Greg,
there's no financial.
I'm not going to say what you want me to say.
Well, I want
my opinion,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to speak for these guys. They can agree and say what they want.
Yeah.
But my opinion of that is really of no value to this issue. It's those gentlemen that have their reasoning, and that reasoning may be a lot smarter than anything we've thought of.
Well,
but it hasn't been shared with us. We
Okay.
haven't met with them. That's one of the issues that keeps coming up at the township board meetings. So,
to your knowledge, there's no big financial problem within the police department budget right
said
now.
another way, there's been no budget problem presented
Okay.
in
All
the
right.
monthly
Fair enough.
township board meetings,
Yeah,
which
fair
is
enough.
where it would have shown up.
So one other thing I want to get on the record and just give you an opportunity to clarify. The township manager wrote a column that appeared in the Grosse Ile Grand, this latest issue. I'm not sure if you've read it or not, but he complained quite a bit about social media and about public commentary on social media about a variety of topics, or he alluded to, there was a range of topics. But certainly, I think everyone knows that I write with the Grosse Ile Civic Association, the Grosse Ile Civic Issues Facebook page, and I've written quite extensively about the police chief hiring process and the issue. And of course, Bill Heil, who spoke earlier, is the president of the association. We have 4 members of our board, and we try through the 4 members on the board to get the facts right in anything we publish. And we actually do, go through multiple drafts of posts to make sure that we can back up everything that we say, because we don't want to be spreading rumors or misinformation in the community. And I don't know if Mr. Riem was talking about anything that we wrote in particular, because he didn't specifically say that, but he has alluded to social media comments, and it seems like he's certainly been a topic in our discussion. And frankly, as a citizen, I take offense to the idea that the only keepers of truth are government officials. I think citizens have a lot of responsibility in also keeping track of the facts and trying to understand what the facts are and what it. In that regard, I just want to read one portion of Mr. Riem's memo, and I just would like to get it on the record to see if you have a comment on it. As you know, he wrote a memorandum that I think you've all seen. That was his recommendation to the township board to hire a police chief. And there's a portion in this memo that I just have to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly, because I don't want to put out misinformation. I want to be factually correct. He says at one point, he writes at one point, "It is my strong opinion that the commission, union, and lieutenant are trying to manipulate the township board's decision on promotion of the police chief. This is very reminiscent of filling the police chief vacancy in 2018, when the commission was only interested in their political agenda." Now, I've written quite a bit about that, and you've heard some comments tonight that alluded to it. I just have to ask for the record, is there some type of collusion going on here between the police commission, the union, and Lieutenant Pellin to manipulate the township board?
I believe that my statement in my 3 minutes at the last township board meeting expressed what my feeling was and what I believe the feeling of the police commission is, and I believe that Commissioner Longton also gave a comment that expresses our position. I don't know that we have any more we want to add to it at this time. Any of you guys feel differently?
No, I think, Paul, you were spot on in your response. Obviously, Bill, based on your question earlier, I went on to explain, how senior managers, CEOs, how they think when it comes to appointing leaders. It's all based on merit. You know why they do that? Because it's the best thing for them, right? It's almost like we're greedy when it comes to that, because if I pick the wrong leader to head up a department and that person fails, then I fail. So it's part of our DNA to select the best person for the job. Nothing else really enters into that equation. And so for anybody to think it's collusion or I like this person or favoritism, it's baloney. It really is. I mean, these people don't volunteer their valuable time to sit on these commissions for any other reason than to help the community out long term. And they know how to do it. And the one thing they're extremely good at, I would say better than anybody sitting on our board, is selecting leaders, because that's what they do for a living. And they do it very well. And if you don't believe it, that they do it for all the right reasons, to just believe that we're greedy, okay? Greedy in a good way. We're greedy because we want to do what's best for ourselves. And what's best for ourselves is picking the right leaders based upon merit. Merit only. No other agenda. It's that simple.
Anyone else have a comment they wanted to make?
Mike, you're spot on. Just to say that I pointed it out last week, Monday. Maybe it was last week, maybe it was 2 weeks ago now. These weeks are blurring together. You have three of us up here that are new to this commission. We didn't know anybody prior to coming in, Mr. Hubbard being the most recent member, myself being the oldest of the three, and then Mr. Ranka. However, he has the past history of being part of this township in the Board of Trustees and the Liaison, I believe, in the past history, and on the commission as well. But at the end of the day, there's no personal agenda for us, and it's unfortunate that Mr. Riem would write a letter of that nature, which is problematic in and of itself, that letter would be allowed to be written by a township manager about a commission when, one, he doesn't know me personally, he doesn't know Mr. Hubbard personally. I don't think he really knows any of us personally. And when you have a letter written like that about a police commission, or any commission for that matter, trying to claim the allegations that he claims, and talks about it's reminiscent about the 2018 police chief selection, the problem doesn't lie with the commission. The problem lies with somebody else, and it's time for Mr. Riem to start realizing that. I think he's part of that problem. And with that said, there's 14 days left, and that problem will be gone, and then that problem will be dealt with again later on another issue. So with that said, I think I rest my case when the community sees that it's reminiscent of 2018, and let's look at who the same players are from 2018 to now.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think you've made it pretty clear that there's no factual basis for this claim that's in this memo that is the recommendation. And I just think it's astounding that the township board would use a document that contains what you demonstrably say is a falsehood as a basis for recommending the hiring of a police chief. I think it's highly inappropriate, and I hope that the township board will reconsider this situation if they're going to have a recommendation for someone other than the unanimous consensus recommendation of the police commission. It better not based on this, because this is what I think of this garbage.
Thank you.
Well, wait a minute, Greg, you don't get to just walk away. For you to truly go on record, I hope you make the same statement in the forum that has votes to do something about it, and that'd be the township board. So
Yeah,
you
well,
need to get it on the you need to
No,
get it on the record there.
I've made remarks at past board meetings, and I can assure you that I will be at the future one to make the same remark that I made tonight again, and perhaps
I just wanted to be
with
sure you got
other
your 3 minutes
citizens
here.
will be coming along with me. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're in public comment. Anyone else out there? Oh, so I don't think so. You still got time left on your 3 minutes.
Thank you. I think what we've seen here tonight is some great open conversation. As you know, a lot of times questions like this, that when they're brought up in a board meeting, they are told that this is only a comment session. So I think this was a very great forum tonight. Appreciate the candid on both sides, both from the audience and you fellas. And I think we need to understand that the people came tonight because, number one, they wanted to show their interest, but they also wanted to show their support. And I can assure you that the sample size you see here tonight is only a small portion of the support that you have from this community.
Well,
Thank
we
you.
appreciate those comments, and I think we feel anybody that comes to the police commission meeting, if they have comments to make, they should be heard and be able to express themselves. We don't have the same time constraints as some other forums, so where the time's available, we make it available. You guys got any comments? Closing comments?
Nope, just thank you for your participation and support.
So, we're down to Scott's favorite item on the agenda, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. I thought we
The meeting's adjourned. Could someone tell